Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. And in this episode, we get a visit from Dani, from Dani's Dugout. Hey, Dani, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Dani from Dani's Dugout. What inspired you to get started? So you're available. You do your skits on YouTube. That you mix in a little comedy, also with some baseball knowledge as well.
I try. I try to keep people entertained as best as I possibly can. My version of comedy is just being, kind of sarcastic, but yeah, sure. Anyways, what got me started was I was leaving modeling and I didn't know what to do next. I have a love for baseball, and my friend was just like, that's what you do next. So it's kind of how Dani's Dugout started. It was my friend's idea, actually, and they're just like, just do it. And that's kind of how this became what it is.
Yeah, I got the same thing with people asking me about my show, and other people think they're always like, how do you do it? But it's really, you just start,
You start, yeah.
That's the hardest thing, to start it. And especially just the media. This with the technology now, you can broadcast from anywhere, and the technology is good. The pitches are sharp, the sound's good, quality good, and just speak and just put it out there. And you have all these free avenues which you didn't have years ago, where now folks like me and you can, get our voice out there, where years ago maybe it was only like seasoned baseball writers and TV people, and that's it. I noticed before, I think you were actually on your way to Tampa or in Tampa when they kind of pulled the kibosh on the spring training. Is that correct?
I was there. I was literally there I was there for the final weeks of spring training because I have a normal job. And I had to, I requested off of work for those days because otherwise, it's more money for the other days. Doesn't matter. Anyways, so I was there for 2 weeks. I think the fifth day that I was there, the fourth or fifth day that I was there, this entire thing happened. And I got stuck down there, actually, because New York and Florida had this whole thing where so that way people would stop going down to Florida. You couldn't go to New York. I don't know. There was this huge thing, and my flight was canceled. Everything was canceled. And I was like, well, I guess I'm staying in Florida for a while. So my friends got stuck with me. My aunt got stuck with me, and I'm like, I'm sorry. So I was down there for a solid month, and I couldn't take it anymore. And I drove up to New York.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So did you even get any games in, or at least
I got teased. I got one game. I got to see Garrett Cole start. I got teased so hard by baseball because I got to see Garrett Cole start. I got to see Montgomery pitch. I got to see everybody play, except they were doing terrible. The infield was just not together. They didn't have that flow that they did last year. And I got teased, and I got to rant a little bit, and then all of a sudden it was taken away, and it was so sad.
Yeah.
I'm laughing now because it's the only thing I can do, but it was so sad.
Yeah, no, it's a bummer. And I still have to do the spring training trip. I never did the Florida trip yet, so it's definitely on my bucket list. I'll get there one day. So I'm just always envious when other people get to go down there. I'm always like, I'm going to do it this year, and I always put it off, and I never get down there.
Just go there for a weekend. That's it. You don't need to go there longer than that. I wanted to go for 2 weeks because I have family there, I have friends there, and I had so much shit planned for the 2 weeks, but then this happened and all of that. But you can go for a weekend and you can hit everything that you need to and see the games and enjoy it. You should definitely do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Pull the trigger next year and just go.
2021 is going to get done, or 2022.
Depends on when the world starts.
So going back a little further, just in terms of being a Yankee fan, do you come from a family Yankee fans? How did you really get into the team and become such an avid fan?
Yes, I come from a long, deep history of Yankee fans. On my grandfather's side, my grandmother, they were Dodger fans first, and then the Dodgers left. And then my great grandmother is still a Dodgers fan. She's like, how are my Dodgers doing? I'm like, they're not in Brooklyn anymore. Why are you a fan of them? This doesn't make any sense, woman. You're 93 years old. Get it together. We're Yankee fans now. But I come from a long line of Yankee fans. My grandfather's mother was a huge Joe DiMaggio fan. Nothing could be done wrong by Joe DiMaggio at all. If somebody said something bad about Joe DiMaggio, my great grandmother would go at you. If you said something bad about Gio, I would go at you, she would go at you. So it's definitely a long history of that. But when it comes to baseball, I always think that it's always family. Like it's a generational sport. So no matter what, when you're a baseball fan, it's because a family member made you a baseball fan of that team. Like you had no choice. If that makes any sense.
Same with me. Like I just, more my uncle anything than my dad. But yeah, my uncle big, and we're all Yankee fans. Like there's no Met fan in the family. That person would probably be banished. They wouldn't be allowed to come to Christmas or anything. They'd be kicked out of their Thanksgiving table.
That's my mom's side of it. My aunt's a Mets fan, and we harp on each other constantly. I remember my first game at Citi Fields, my only game at Citi Field now, Shea Stadium. My aunt was just like, you have to go. And me and my brother are like, we're wearing Yankee jerseys, right? We're going to be those people. And we were those people. Like, she's the only Met fan in my entire family. So I went to a Mets game last year with a friend of mine, and I just wore, like, very incognito Yankee stuff. So it was like BXAF, which means like Bronx. I think we can all tell what that means. And I don't think I wore my Dani's Dugout hat instead of my Yankee hat. And I just tried to stay incognito because I was like, don't be that person. And it was fun. Cano hit a home run to me, and I was just like, this is weird seeing Cano play for a different team in New York.
Yeah, it's kind of heartbreak. I felt bad the way his career, because he really should have stayed a Yankee for life, and he would have went down as probably the greatest Yankee second baseman of all time. And it was where his offensive stats and his career started off. And obviously, I guess some PED use was involved in that, but still.
During the time that he was with Seattle, but during the time that he was with Seattle, but like, if he didn't leave the Yankees, he would have been like, all Yankee fans were so mad at him because he left. Like, if he didn't leave, he would have been like that Derek Jeter kind of dude. Like, we were all expecting him to be like, to take care of us after Derek left, and he just left us, and we're like, why? And we hate him for that reason. It wasn't because he left for the money. Obviously, he left for the money, but like, it was more of you left us after our savior left us. Like, you asshole. Why would you do that? I think that was like, oh, I'm sorry, I cursed, but like, like, why would you do that?
Yeah, I don't think he would have like the stature of a Jeter, but he was supposed to be that next superstar to lead us.
That guy to kind of like keep our hearts full, if that makes any sense, or like keep us safe. I don't know how to explain it, but like, we just kind of looked at him as like, all right, you're gonna be our guy after this guy leaves, if that makes any sense.
No, totally. And it's not like they lowballed. They gave him they were like front load like 6 years for $175 million. So
yeah, they were giving him money. And then he decided to go to Seattle for more money. I'm like, that's what you get when you have Jay-Z, like, negotiate your contract.
Yeah, felt bad. And I was actually at that first game, I think, when he came back to Yankee Stadium. It was a rainy Friday night.
The crap out of him.
Oh, yeah. And I think CC struck him out like 3 times, because that's what, CC was nasty on lefties, even for Cano. And, yeah, Cano had a rough time. And I don't think Cano was, like, shocked. Like, he didn't realize he would get so much hatred back, but.
Well, he did this thing with, was it Jimmy Fallon? I think it was Jimmy Fallon. He did, like, this whole thing with Jimmy Fallon where, like, he stood behind a cardboard box of himself, and a bunch of people, they're like, what would you say to Cano if you could say anything to Cano? And, like, a bunch of people were just, like, yelling at this cardboard box, and then he stood, like, he came around, and they're like, oh, hey, what's up, Cano? And he's just like, oh, so you're not going to stand by what you just said? They're like, well, like, I gotta say hi. I remember seeing that, being like, oh, I would have ripped him a new one. Like, I don't care if he just came out of a cardboard box. I would have stayed in, like, full front. Like, I wouldn't have been like, oh my God, hi. Like, I would have turned around and been like, no, everything I just said, I'm gonna say to your face now.
Yeah, my one, I guess, positive moment with Cano, actually, it was like 2009. It was the Baseball Writers Association dinner in the city. I was actually able to buy a ticket, even though I'm not a baseball writer. And, afterward, there were a lot of players and managers going around. And actually, it's a piece of ripped up paper, but it's got both Cano's signature and King Felix all signed to both. And then a couple years later, they became teammates. So who knew?
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy Cano story. And I also noticed that, speaking of Mets, Yankees, people going back and forth, not too long ago, you actually had a chance to interview Dellin Betances.
Yeah. So I did a, like, Toys for Tots kind of situation. But there's a bunch of kids that we raised a bunch of money for. St. Mary's, and we bought a bunch of like presents. It was like a toy drive situation, and it was amazing, honestly. Like the entire event was so cool. But Batanzas was there. His sister was the one running the event, and I got to talk to him for a couple minutes. Like I had like this whole thing with him. Like I didn't want to keep him on long. I didn't want to like take away from the St. Mary situation by being like, oh, well, we're talking to Batanzas. Like I didn't want to do that. So I kept him on for like, I was like, look, I got 3 questions. I'm going to leave it at that. And he was in the middle, like he didn't sign to the Mets yet. And there was like this whole thing. So he's like, I don't want to talk free agency. And I was like, don't worry, I'm not going to. Like he was waiting for me to keep him on and talk to him longer. And I was just like, nah, like 3 questions. That's it. Who's your favorite Yankee of all time? Why'd you pick baseball? And like, what does this mean for you to give back and help your sister? And it was really cool. He was super nice. He took pictures with everybody and he talked to a bunch of people. His son is adorable. He's like, I just wanted to squeeze his face. But yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. So, and yeah, that was at the time where like, I thought the Yankees were going to keep him, but I was kind of surprised. I mean, it was only a 1-year deal, so he could always come back. But I was surprised the Yankees didn't obtain him because, yeah, when his stuff is on, he's just untouchable. The fastball.
Sorry to cut you off. I think it was more of the fact of like they were focused on Cole and they didn't understand where he would be at with his injury. So they're like, all right, go rest for a year and then we'll grab you, if that makes any sense. Like he's like seeing him go it hurt my soul. Like I wanted him to come back more than anything, obviously, because he is nasty, like you were just saying. But I think the reason why they didn't sign him this year and they kind of let the Mets do it was more of a obviously business strategy, money strategy situation of not paying a guy who's literally not going to do anything because his Achilles heel is all screwed up.
Yeah. Well, I felt that way with Didi. As soon as they announced Didi was going to sign with the Phillies, I was like, well, okay, if the Yankees are going to spend that money on Didi, I knew they were going to spend it on Cole. And I think literally that night, it was like 12:30 midnight, whatever, they announced that they did the Cole deal. So that once they didn't spend the money on Didi, that to me was the signal they were going to go for Cole.
Yes, completely. And that hurt my soul.
Yeah. But again, they're both 1-year deals, so they could come back. Who knows?
I know, but like Didi's 1-year deal was like $14 million. And me and me and Sharon, we're just going to go with that. So me and Sharon looked at each other. We're like, we couldn't find $14 million anywhere. Like nowhere. We couldn't just find $14 million. So that way we could keep this amazing human being on our team. And now he's going to our old manager with our old, like the Phillies have become the old Yankees.
Pretty much.
Crazy.
But they're going to be, I mean, I don't know what they're pitching. Their offense is going to be sick with Bryce Harper, Didi, and I think Girardi will tighten that ship up there. I think they're going to be a very good team.
I was so excited for this year, not just because of the Yankees. Like I was really excited to see Philly. Like I wanted to see what Girardi was going to do with Bryce Harper, because Bryce Harper is known to be, not a nice guy.
Yeah. No.
I'm trying to think of a way of saying not a nice guy without cursing. So not a nice guy. And he doesn't get along with anybody. He's always throwing temper tantrums. He's always fighting with people. And Girardi doesn't put up with that. The reason why Girardi got fired, one of the main reasons, it wasn't because of that BS call he didn't make in the 2017.
Yeah.
It was because he wasn't getting along with Sanchez. Like he wasn't Sanchez has like the biggest ego.
Yeah,
more like he is so self-centered. So he's that guy. And Girardi doesn't put up with that at all. And he would he wouldn't play Sanchez because Sanchez was just, stuck up basically. And that's why he got fired, because he wouldn't deal. Like he was like, no, he's being benched. If he's going to act this way, this is what's going to happen. So I want to see how he's going to be with Bryce Harper, because that's Bryce Harper. And is Bryce Harper going to get better, or is Bryce Harper going to get worse? Like I was so excited to see that.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Harper leaves the Nationals, and then they win the World Series. So what does that tell you?
Exactly. Like he was just not like, when you get rid of toxicity, it helps. Like he's toxic. Him and Manny Machado, which everybody was going crazy over during that free agency year. So not last year, the year before. Everybody was going crazy over the two of them, and I'm like, they're both toxic human beings. They're only going to make your teams worse because they're going to make the dugout worse, and it's not going to be pretty. Like Clint Frazier, if you want to think about it that way. Clint Frazier can't talk to the press. He has issues talking to the press. He's a pansy ass and just kind of like hides in bathrooms and doesn't talk to people and makes his teammates talk to the press for him. And then he hits a home run. And if you looked in the dugout after that happened, none of them cheered. None of them did. Like, that was a moment to cheer, by the way, because we tied the game. It was a big moment. And none of them moved. None of them congratulated him. Nothing, because he literally didn't talk to the press. And that toxicity in a dugout really makes for bad gameplay, because if you're not a family, if you're not together, you know, you're not going to play correctly. So Bryce Harper is that, like, Clint Frazier toxicity. If I kind of made that full circle make sense.
Yeah, and I was the same boat. Like, I did not want any part of Harper or Machado at all. It's like we didn't need those guys at all. So I'm just happy that Cashman passed in both. And I'd rather use the cash on someone like Cole, we need a starting pitcher like that. But also, it just seems like a better guy overall.
He does. Like, have you seen? There was a bunch of stuff coming out with him, like showing people how he throws pitches and like really talking to everybody and like trying to understand the ins and outs and teach. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but like there's so many videos of him like really talking to everybody and really talking to Sanchez and them trying to get it together. Like, he's a big sabermetrics guy. He's a big guy. Like, Cole's just awesome. I'm just gonna leave it there.
Yeah, and at first I was like kind of like a mix on him. I was like, you know what, you could spend a boatload of money on him, but you could also maybe spend less and get someone like Madison Bumgarner, who's a lefty, still pretty good. Wouldn't cost as much, but I think Cole has been growing on me more and more just the more I think of it, because it is a lot of money they gave him. But then again,
oh my God, yeah, stupid money.
And if you look at this season, obviously it's gonna be a short season, so for him it's like he's getting paid for a full season to maybe do like one half the work. Who knows, when this all comes back.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of money that was spent on him was astronomical. I think that baseball contracts in general are just stupid. Losing this year with him really sucks, like having to pay him for this year and like one of his prime years kind of sucks, because we're not I know that people keep saying like if we have a season, we're not, like, it doesn't count. It's looking like it's going to be a season of like less than 100 games, and if you're going to have a season less than 100 games, I'm sorry, that's not a season. Like the Washington Nationals last year were like 80 games out from making it, and then they won the World Series. So like if you have a season of just like less than 100 games, it's not a season.
I think now it's going to be kind of weird because like if you don't get up to a good start, like you said with the Washington Nationals, there's no catch-up time. Like you can't afford to fall behind because, who knows? Some team like the Baltimore Orioles might win the AL East. Who knows? If they just get off to a great start and Yankees just don't get their stuff together.
That's funny. That's so funny. But yeah, I totally understand what you're trying to say there.
So it's like
the Orioles will never, ever, ever see the AL East until ever, just ever.
So
their owner just gets it together.
Maybe we'll go Blue Jays then.
That's a good one. There you go. I could see that. That's a possibility, especially since Vlad is like boss.
Yeah, I mean they got a good young team. So let's just say we're back in the stadium now. Just seeing some of your posts and stuff. You like being the bleacher section? I mean, what's your favorite section?
I just like being in the stadium. But yes, I'm a bleacher creature, 100% through and through. My animals, every time I'm not in the bleachers, I always look to them and I'm like, my people, I miss you. But like, I'm being bougie up here for a second, but I miss you. I miss being a psychotic person with you. I'm definitely a bleacher creature. That's where all my friends are half the time. In a sense of like that work at the stadium, like all of my friends that work at the stadium are in the bleacher area. My bartender is in the bleacher area. People that I've met always sit there. Like, yeah, I'm a bleacher creature.
You can watch a game from the bleachers for a couple innings and you go back where you're sitting, then you stand here. Like if I'm by myself at the game, I'm just never in my seat. I just walk around the whole time.
Yes. I totally understand what you're saying right there. Like I do the same thing a lot, but only because like people are like, come see us here, this, and the third. And it's like usually in between an inning where I'm like running, and then somehow I always end up standing wherever. Like I get yelled at all the time because they're like, ma'am, can you just go to your seat? And I'm like, my seat's all the way on the other side, but like I'm over here because I'm talking to this person, but I need to see what's going on because Didi's about to hit a home run and it's gonna be great. So I understand that.
Yeah, I'm really in my seat. So now you're gonna put your GM cap on, because obviously the Yankees have all these young players, but there's gonna be a time where they're gonna have to make some tough decisions. So let's say you're the GM and you can only keep one. So your choice is now Gleyber Torres or Gary Sanchez. Which one are you gonna keep?
Torres, 100%.
And just because, and I would agree with you too, just because
I'm like, I don't want to give it any reason more than just the fact that Torres, he's 23. Like, I'll give my reason, obviously. He's 23 years old. He's got a long career ahead of him. Sanchez is already injury prone and sucks.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a little better with the defense, at least. He worked like this past season a little better with the defense. 2 years ago, it was a disaster.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. He is working on his situation, but if you really pay attention, I'm not 100% sure if this was just the managerial issue or if this was an issue with him in general. He never calls a game. Like, if you pay attention, like if you really want, like, I fell in love with baseball because of pitching, and I fell in love with the intricacies of pitching because I have such bad ADD that if I got, like, sometimes I would get, distracted, and I would start paying attention to, like, the finger movements and, like, what he was looking at, and it's like, that's how I fell in love with baseball. But, like, I would see Sanchez constantly just look into the dugout for what pitch he was about to call. And I'm like, this mofo doesn't even call his own games. Like, no, he can't even call a baseball game. That's why I loved Austin Romine so much, because Austin Romine, he knew what the hell he was doing. He was calling his game, and he was paying attention. So, Torres. I picked Torres.
No, and I think they're both unique, that they're like good power hitters at their positions. You don't usually have a good hitting catch, and usually don't have a great hitting second base like that. But I would take with Torres. This with the whole package. And Sanchez, again, he is an unbelievable hitter when he's on. But again, this in his head is a little. You got to worry about that a little bit. So the second one, and you might have tipped your hand earlier. You got Gio or Luke Voigt.
That's mean.
That's tough.
That's mean. That's actually really mean, because now I'm sitting here like, So, obviously, I'm picking Gio. But I have my reasoning behind this now. There's not just the factor of, I love Gio. I picked Gio over Voigt because I actually picked Ford over Voigt. I think Voigt with his hernia is going to be a bigger issue than people believe it to be. I also saw a decline in Voigt last year that people weren't expecting. Like, we expected more from Voigt, and then he got hurt and injured. All that stuff kind of happened, but he didn't play well. And when I saw him in spring training, he wasn't making good catches at first base. So I'm going to pick Gio because Gio's obviously still solid and has really been learning more and practicing more and getting better. Like, he's not falling short. And the guy hits 2 foul balls off his shin and still goes out there and plays. So, Gio.
Yeah, and I would to discuss his defense with Gio, spectacular. You could play him at third base. And look, if he needs to play a little shortstop, this is the sub. He could play shortstop. And Voigt, I like him. He's a good power right-hand hitter. But like I said, he's just not the most, his body's not that most athletic. So I just don't see him being, he'll be a good player, but I don't see him as a long-term solution. So yeah, I mean, if I only had a certain amount of money, only keep one, I would definitely keep Gio in that situation.
Yeah. And then on top of that, the whole power hitting situation, even when it comes to Sanchez, Voigt, we saw a decline in that last year. And maybe that's also because of the abdomen issue and the strength training and all of the training issues and injury issues that we had last year. Maybe that was a big factor in it. And I kind of wanted to see a little bit more from him this year. Obviously we can't right now, but with where was I going with this? Oh, so with the power hitting situation, it's you see a decline there and it's because of injury. And when you see a decline in Sanchez, it's because of ego. So there's I don't like seeing decline either way for either reason. So I'm going to stick to the guy who's been pretty consistent, which is Gio.
Cool. And now for the last topic, obviously this season, pending we have baseball, which I think we will, we have this new rule now with the 3 pitches. So if you bring someone into the bullpen, they have to face a minimum of 3 batters or finish off the inning. I mean, are you in favor of this, or you feel that baseball is policing itself too much? I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Remove Manfred. Remove Manfred yesterday. Not yesterday, 3 years ago. Just get rid of Manfred. I hate him so much. I hate him more than anything else in this entire planet. You just completely took out a huge strategy in baseball. You're ruining the game. Not only did Manfred get rid of this, like he did. Oh, sorry. I'm going to get really mad, and I'm trying to calm myself down. I hate this rule. I think this rule is stupid. I think that it is based off of sabermetrics situate. Like they did like some stupid like math telling people that we don't use that type of pitch. What is that? Oh, what is the pitcher called? Basically, you know how you had a Big Papi pitcher?
Like,
he came out to take care of Big Papi, and then he went back in.
Like, like a specialist, like a lefty specialist.
Yes, thank you. I always so like you can't have that anymore.
Exactly.
And that destroys a huge part of like that one gets rid of a job. So now that guy is out of a job. That pitcher is gone. It's over because he can only do that one. Now you have to make sure that he can take care of 2 other people after that. And if he can't do that, what's the point? I hate
it's not baseball. And so, like you said, what if someone comes in and they just can't throw a strike? You know, what are you gonna? I mean, you'll have blown games. Someone could hurt themselves. Like maybe they have a discomfort in their arm. They just can't throw a strike. Now you force them to throw 28 pitches. Now they have an arm strain. And they're on the DL for like a month. You know, I think it's terrible. And it's like, is it really going to speed up the game that much? What is it going to save you 2 minutes? Is it really worth it? You know,
stop trying to speed up a game that's 3 hours long average. Like normally it's a 3-hour long game. Like, okay, yeah, you have the random games like when we played Boston in London where it's a 5-hour game. Jesus, that was a long game, by the way. I was at both of them and they were both really long games and it was so hot. It was bad. But anyways, like stop trying to make a game shorter. It's not going to happen. Like football is 3 hours long. A game, like any sporting event is like 3 hours freaking long. Why are you trying? Like, and they're timed. Those ones are timed, but they're still 3 hours long. And hours isn't timed, but it's still usually 3 hours long. So what are you trying to do here? And there's more action. There's more gameplay. Manfred is trying to do something to this game and completely change the game, try to make it faster. It's not going to happen. And then he's going to lose fans over it. Actually, he is losing fans over it. All I know is just remove Manfred.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I had a great time talking with you finally. I know, you know, we were building up the anticipation. That's where we were. We're building up the anticipation.
Completely.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Oh,
who's going to be your 2020 World Series champion?
Nobody, because we're not going to have a 2020 season.
Oh, well.